Safe back in the day, it was safe. My dad passed away at 56, really
Mm.
young,
Yeah.
but my dad has a pension that my mom is 87 still collecting on.
Uh-huh.
So in regards to that, I get that piece, right? But then there was, as I worked for the city years later, right? The safe kind of went away because things happen. 2008 hit. Things happen. We downsize. Downsize is the city. I worked for the city. I was fortunate my job was safe, but maybe someone else's wasn't. And so I say safe in the words of what people think, but it really is never a safe job. Like you never know what could they could continue to streamline and say, okay, that manager's gone. And so that began to kind of weigh on me in regards to income and how I created income. And always thinking about what my dad said, you always have to plan for your future, but what is that going to look like?
All right, guys. I am excited to be back with you guys today. This episode is going to be fun. I've got a friend of mine on the podcast today that I know you will get value from. I've known her for quite some time. And so Jessica, welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited for you to share with everyone that's here with the Freedom Factory your journey through network marketing and a little bit of your background so that everyone kind of gets a little feel for who you are, where you're from. I know some of this stuff, but let everybody else know where were you born, a little bit of your background, how were you raised?
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. And where was I born? Tampa, Florida, like right here, right? Born and raised fourth generation Tampanian. That's a cool name, right? Cool word. But yeah, born here, raised in a really solid home. Mom, dad, couple sisters. I'm a middle child. Maybe that's why I'm doing things a little different. But that's a little bit about me from my homestead. Just a solid family structure. My parents just hardworking middle class folks, right? That really wanted something better for us. So they laid a great foundation. We had a solid education. Um, Came from that space where you work hard, you do the right things, good things are going to come your way. We hope. So yeah, born and raised here in the Tampa area, and looking forward to sharing more about my journey with you and your listeners for sure.
Yeah, so you said parents blue collar.
Mhm.
Where do you think you got your entrepreneurial spirit from?
It's kind of funny. While my dad was a blue collar guy, worked for the city of Tampa for many years, over 20, but he always had odd jobs. He always knew a guy. You know anybody like that? I got a guy. My dad knew a guy in insurance business, so he sold insurance. My dad used to be a drummer. I don't know if you knew that about me, Brandon, but my dad was a drummer. He was a musician. So he did that early on to make ends meet before the kids came along, right? And then unfortunately one day he got in a car accident and his drums got squashed. So I guess that was no more no more drums for the man, right? But he always knew that he needed to do some different things to kind of put the pieces together in order for us to do the things he wanted. Like he put us through private school with my mom. Like they thought private school was the education we needed. They weren't so keen on the public school education at the time. So they needed to make some extra money because they were just blue collar folks. My mom always worked just like my dad. So we came from the hard work. You work hard, you got to do the right thing, get a good education, and powerful things will happen for you, is kind of what my dad's mindset was. But he always, like I said, had other things. My mom did too. She had more than one job in order to be able to make ends meet.
So when you're saying your dad knew guys like the insurance thing, you said he worked for the city, but did he also sell insurance? Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah, he sold
Okay.
insurance. Yeah, he understood the value of that residual when that policy happens again, and you get paid on it. He understood that. Never did network
Did he
marketing.
have conversations with you and your sisters, your siblings about money? Were you guys taught about money early on?
I can tell you what we were taught is we didn't have enough. I do know that we were taught that. So when you say early on, it was always carry as much life insurance as you need. auto insurance, you carry the most. You never know what's going to happen, right? That was my dad's mentality. I'm not saying it's the right one or the wrong one, but it was always in this space of worrying about the what ifs. And I know that I always had that in the back of my head was, well, what if something happens? So I kind of followed in his footsteps, Brandon. I ended up working for the city myself, thinking that was my answer,
Was that because the what ifs, like that was a safe job, like works for the city because that's safe?
Safe for sure. Safe back in the day, it was safe. My dad passed away at 56,
Mm,
really young,
yeah.
but my dad has a pension that my mom is 87 still collecting on.
Uh-huh.
So, in regards to that, I get that piece, right? But then there was, as I worked for the city years later, right? The safe kind of went away because things happen. 2008 hit, things happen. We downsize. Downsizes the city. I worked for the city. I was fortunate my job was safe, but maybe someone else's wasn't. And so I say safe in the words of what people think, but it really is never a safe job. Like you never know what could or, they could continue to streamline and say, okay, that manager's gone. And so that began to kind of weigh on me in regards to income and how I created income. And I was thinking about what my dad said, you always have to plan for your future, but what is that going to look like?
Do you
Maybe.
think so do you said that you worked for the city,
Mhm.
and but you started to see some things. I guess what I'm wondering is what led you to the entrepreneurial course of network marketing? You working for the city, so obviously what you were
Mhm.
doing wasn't giving you what you needed, or you would still be doing that. So like what led to network marketing?
I can tell you what stress led to network marketing. I was at a high level position within the city. And with that comes more responsibility for the same pay. More responsibility, more responsibility. I mean, the ceiling keeps going up and it's not in income, it's in responsibility. So I share
That
this.
doesn't sound like a good plan.
No, it wasn't a good plan. And I'm thinking back, I'm like, Dad, really? You know?
So they give you a new title, but not a new paycheck? I don't know.
Correct. So, and then Brandon, here's the bigger thing is that there was four total managers in the entire city in the department that I worked on. I was one of four. And so you'd think we'd get paid pretty equitably. Not so much.
Hmm.
If someone was there 10 years, 5 years, 20 years longer, they had a different pay range. Well, as it turns out, I was the cheapest manager they had. I was at the bottom of the pay scale while others were at $30,000 above me doing the same work. 30,000 is a big number, Brandon. And I was in that role for 8 years. And when I decided to rip the band aid and say, this isn't for me, I actually had an exit interview with the chief of staff for the city. Like I said, I want an exit interview. And he said, okay. So he sat down and he said, so why are you leaving? You're awesome. What can we do? I said, you can't really do anything because I know the pay structure is the pay structure. But I said, do you know that for the last 8 years, I've made $30,000 less than my counterparts? Add that up. And he went, and he used to be the chief budget officer. So I'm like, this is a problem. If you didn't know that, he's no longer there, but that's beside the point. But anyway, so it really was when it was the rubber meeting the road. So when you asked me what that decision was, it was the rubber meeting the road going, okay, I'm doing great work. I was good at what I did. Wasn't that? But it was not feeling worthy, not being compensated effectively for what I knew the work that I was putting in that maybe somebody even wasn't at that big of a gap. The gap was too large. I wanted to shrink the gap a bit in whatever I did. Let me
So where
pass
did
it.
the paths cross? Like where did the paths of you being introduced to network marketing, did it come at a time where you were frustrated with work or were you relatively happy with work or did those paths cross at the right time?
I think timing is everything. They say it, they say location in real estate, but timing for me was in network marketing. And literally, I was beginning to feel that pinch. That feeling was beginning to happen. I wasn't all the way there yet, but it was beginning to happen. And a good friend of mine said, "Hey, I need you to check this information out." And I'm thinking, it's a thing. It's a network marketing thing. And 12 years ago, my brain wasn't around that. My brain was around working for the city, working hard, doing all the things that my old blueprint was. I say a blueprint because We all live in a blueprint. We grow up in one, right? Where we come from. And so when that path crossed, she said, just check it out. I think you might need to understand this. And
Mm.
so sure enough, I checked it out and I checked out. Like the company was publicly traded. That was a big flag for me that I was like, whoo, that's one hurdle I had to overcome coming from government work and a traditional mindset and all the things. I was like publicly traded. Okay, I'm going to lean in a little more. And I just took a leap. I literally
Did
took a leap.
you did you when let's go back a little bit
Sure.
before you got into network marketing. Like, were you I'm trying to, what I'm trying to decide is, when I do these interviews with people, it's really interesting, their backgrounds and what
Yeah.
leads someone to saying yes, what leads someone to being an entrepreneur. Did you like school? Were you a good student? Were you an average student?
Straight A.
Straight
Dude,
A?
I, I was valedictorian in my 8th grade class, but that's okay. Number 6 in my high school class. I was only 6. Okay, so and I went to a big school, but here's the thing, Brandon. I'm an overachiever. Like I push myself in no competition with anyone else. In no competition with anyone.
Why do
Like
you
I
think
was
that is? Is that something you were trying to prove as being the middle child? Why?
being 4'11".
Okay. Okay. So like your height, you're like, I'm short, but I'm gonna prove that doesn't matter.
100%.
Was that
I
from
call
like
it
sports? Was it like, what
sports.
led to that?
Yeah, from the time listen, they had to lie about my age so I could play softball at the age of 4. You were supposed to be 8. And my parents are like, "Please take her. I know she's smaller than everybody, but she needs to do something."
That's
It's a true
funny.
statement, and you can ask my mother. She's still
That's
alive.
funny.
You can Yep. So I think it was a combination. I was in constant wanting to just be better, like to do well, to whatever it was. I don't care what it was. Just constantly be to excel. Not like I said, not to compare myself or to compete with anyone else. I would just do it for myself. My dad would say, "Hey, can you pitch this ball in that trash can 100 times?" Okay. And I'd go run and do it. My sister used to time me. How about this? Time me to make my bed. I bet you can make mine faster. I'm like, sure. And then I go run and make hers. She was smarter than me.
Yeah, yeah, she had a strategy there, I think.
She had a strategy.
So overachiever, maybe because of your stature. My mom says she's 5 foot. She's not 5 foot. My mom is under 5 foot. My dad's 6'3". And that's how I ended up kind of falling in the middle there.
Sure.
So that's what you think led to you kind of, you know, wanting to stretch your arms, stretch your wings into the entrepreneurial world?
Yeah, I can tell you this, Brandon, but I also know that when it comes when there's a crossroads, when there's a crossroads. So in my career, I told you about the city, but I also prior to that I was an educator. So I was a phys ed teacher, athletic director right out of college. Okay. Get my degree, first one in my family to go to college. That was a big thing, right? Um, Full ride. My parents didn't have to pay. That was a big thing. My parents never went to college. They right out of high school, they went to work, right? So for me, that was a big thing, right? I was going to be the one for whatever reason. I wanted that thing, okay? So I go off to college, get my degree, decide I want to be an educator, go into phys ed teaching, athletic directing, coaching, all the stuff, right? I'm at this little school that I think is awesome. And then a shift happens with a new administrator who comes in, and I'm like, they are not doing right by the children. They are not doing right by the staff. Like I have this like innate, like very, and that comes from my mom and my dad for sure. Very much about, values and morals and all the things that I believe your parents probably instilled in you, right? Loyalty, doing the right thing for people. And I'm like, this is not happening. So in that space, that's where I think some of that entrepreneur, like I'm just going to go do me, kind of was born in different spaces. So I went from education, then I worked in nonprofits, then I went to work in the city, then I worked, it was finding my niche along the way.
Mhm.
Network marketing came at a time when I wasn't looking. I really wasn't, but I knew I was frustrated.
Mm.
And then I began. like understanding the industry. And then when you understand the industry, you're like, wait a minute, why have I been under a rock? It's a pretty cool industry. It makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Did
kind of how I
you
fell there.
so tell us a little bit about your entry into like saying yes. Like I'd love for you to tell us a little bit
Mhm.
about how that story happened. Like were you a hard yes? Were you like an easy yes? Like what
Super
was
easy.
that process like?
Of all people, you would never think I was an easy yes. But the person who shared it with me is, how shall we say, very persuasive.
Uh-huh.
Very persuasive. She's just like got an incredible personality, bubbly, like la 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 la. You like you want to be a part of that stuff. Her
Uh-huh.
energy, right? And so she introduces me and says, "Hey, check this video out." Literally, it was a video about the company, right? And more about the that wellness product that really intrigued me. I was about science. I'm always about health. My dad, I told you, died at 56.
Mhm.
So she understood that wellness long term was something I'm super passionate about. I want my mom to live as long. I told you she's 87. I would have loved my dad to experience that too. So she knew that. So she introduced me to this wellness company and said, "Hey, check this information out." I'm intrigued by the information, right? And then she's smart enough to say, "Hey, I know you love community," and says, "Why don't we go to this event?" I'm thinking we're going to, I don't know, meet some people or running. It turns into an event for network marketing, if you know what I mean. Okay.
What's that look like? Like what do you mean? Was it like
Somebody's home,
a house meeting?
a house meeting.
Okay.
I walk into a house meeting and I say, "What is this?" And she goes, "Shh, don't talk. Let them talk." I'm not even allowed to ask questions. So I sit there and I said, "Okay." She said, "Shh." And then I'll introduce you to people after. I said, "Okay." So anyway, so I sit quiet, hands underneath I am not a happy camper. I'm just thinking, what?
Had you been to one of those type meetings before?
No, but I had the feeling when I walked in, when they got a board in the front of the room, they got a TV set up, and people are all
So you thought you were about to be sold something is what you thought.
correct. And what happened was they finish and they all like, let's have some coffee and donuts and orange juice because it was in the morning. And I go to ask her something. She goes, "Here, let me introduce you to a professional cyclist." And I was like, there are athletes here. She didn't really lie because there were, but it was packaged this network marketing event at a wellness where sure enough, this professional cyclist, he believes in the product so well that he's sharing it with his clients. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking, hmm, I already had researched because I knew she had sent me the video, so I knew that it was publicly traded. I knew, I was trying to poke holes a little bit, but didn't know I was going to go to this event literally 3 days later. So I was on a Saturday. So we get in the car and I say, "I got questions. I met some great people there." Right? And she goes, "No questions. We'll wait till Monday." I said, "Want to answer my questions." We went to lunch with my friend. The whole time I'm thinking, I can't tell her. She works with me at the city. I'm going to tell her I went to a network marketing event. It's not happening. So I get home and I do what probably a lot of people do. I just Googled the heck out of it. Nothing really alerted me or shocked me, or I knew some people would write a blog or say this is great or that great, you know what I mean, but I wasn't seeking that. I was seeking the real outliers, right? And
And
I found
how long before you were introduced to it to you signed up?
Monday.
Oh, the next day or the Monday. So
Monday.
you were, like, introduced to it on a Thursday, and 4 days later, you were in?
100%.
Okay. Alright. So you were that was quick.
It
That
was super quick.
and so you kinda said, if I heard you right, the person that introduced you to it,
Yeah.
good personality, good energy, and was like you felt like they were 100% in. And then there was a little bit of social proof. There was some
Social proof.
social proof of what
Correct.
was going on.
Mhm.
So
Correct.
that's what kind of led to it.
And there was some trust that was built with that individual when she shared it with me. See, she was training for the Olympics at the time. So I know that she's not going to put anything in her system from a wellness perspective, right? It's going to jeopardize the things. Then I see a professional cyclist in the room saying similar things. I hear stories. I see they're normal people that look like me or you sitting around the just being very transparent about how their lives have shifted, whether it was from an income space or a wellness space. And I'm sitting there going, why am I trying to poke holes if I mean the whole room is telling a crazy story?
Yeah.
Not you know what I mean? And so when you say social proof, Brandon, that's super important. It was very so I literally I called her on Monday and said, I want to do this. I said, I don't know where it's gonna lead. I'm not, trying to make $1 billion here. I'm not even in that space. But what I do know, my family needs to know about this. I got some friends that definitely need to know about this. If I make some money along the way, awesome. But I'm doing it from a very caring place, right? Because I know that there's
Your motive when you got in, when you were looking at it, you're just like, yeah, okay, I see the value in the product. I'm going to take it. Um, were you thinking were you thinking small but with big possibilities, or did you like say, okay, from the beginning, like I think this could be big? Like what were your expectations?
I had zero real expectations from a long-term space. I really didn't. Like I said, what I knew is, okay, I'm gonna come in right now with this package. Oh, companies have packages, whatever the package is to come in. I'm gonna come in with this package. I know my immediate family is all gonna take it. Boom. And then when I see, when I see what I know I'm gonna see, because I knew I had heard, that's when I began sharing. And it really has just blossomed over
Did
time.
your immediate family take the product?
100%. My mom was the first one. She said, "Where do I get it?" That was her
Really?
first question. "Where do I
Because a
get it?"
lot of people don't. Like a lot of people, like their closest family members refuse.
Correct. My sisters, my mom, I mean, I had the immediate support from the get-go, and this is someone who's never now my older sister had been in network marketing before, 2 other companies, one where she was making her mortgage payment. Like,
Mm.
okay, this is back in the Jafra, back in way back in the day. I don't even know if they're still around. That's why I say the name. I have no idea, right? But at the end of the day, she was in that program. And so I was familiar with it. I wasn't going to do that.
Mhm.
Royal jelly milk balm or something. I don't know, something you put on your face. I'm like,
Yeah.
right? And then later on, she did another one.
Mm.
Asked me, nope, don't even, nope, nope, don't ask me, right? So
You were crushing it with the city. You didn't need an opportunity.
correct. So I said to her, I'm like, what the heck? I'm fine, right? So then here, this happens, and I come home and I'm like, look what I got. And she's like, what?
Yeah.
She goes, I don't even care what the product is, what the information is. I don't need to see anything. I'm in. And I said, what? No, you have to follow the system. I'm sitting here trying to follow a system, and she's like in. And my
Really?
yes, and then my younger sister says, well, if she's doing it, I guess I have to. What is this thing? She don't want to be left behind.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, I know you've had a lot of success in network marketing. Your group is doing very well. And hearing how you came into the business, everyone has obstacles. Though.
Mhm.
Not everybody's family takes the product, but at some point there's obstacles. So in that first year, like since this you had not done this before,
Mhm.
what was the biggest obstacle for you in that first year?
Okay, I came from a manager role. I wanted to manage people.
Hmm.
Let me do it for them. It's the management mode thing.
What were you doing for people in network marketing?
Oh, okay. Here's the list of all the meetings. Let me send you an email with every meeting in your area. I
Okay.
put it in the little template and I send it off, and they're like probably going, another email. Great, Jess. Right. So I literally was doing too much when I say over managing someone, right? Checking in on them way too frequently and not allowing them to come to me to say, hey, I'd like a little assistance here. Nothing wrong with a check in, but when you're consistently and you're not hearing them going, I'm not there yet, like you're over here and I'm still back here, give me my space. So I believe that management piece slowed me down.
So your old training, your training from traditional the
Correct.
business, the traditional world bled into your network marketing activities, which I think is normal. I think that's the normal, whatever served people to be successful
Mhm.
in the past, they maybe try to bring that in. But what people typically find out is the rules of engagement, the rules of network marketing are nowhere near the
No.
rules of traditional business. What other obstacles did you have? Okay, so you're managing people. That's a problem
Yeah.
because that's not what we do. That's a job.
Mhm.
What other obstacles? Did you ever feel like you were going to quit in the first year?
First year, no. I would honestly, Brandon, it was probably year 4.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. It's when I hit a plateau and I kinda sat there for too long and I saw others doing this. Well, I've never been a comparison person. I told you on the front end, right? This business opened your eyes to others and what they're doing way more transparently, I believe, in traditional business. That's my view, right? So I'm sitting here going, okay, well, he came in 2 years after me, and yet he's here, but I'm here. I think I'm doing the things. Am I not doing the things? Am I? So you begin self doubting, right? Are my
The
actions?
comparison, you saw other people having success. Was that in your company, out of your company? Was it both?
Um, primarily within, primarily within. At that time, first 4 years in, I wasn't doing a great job with really educating me on educating myself on the whole industry. I was kind of like right in this space. When
Hmm.
I began to branch out and said, "Oh, wait a minute. I know we're a fish in a pond. There's other fish. Let's just kind of see how this plays out as a whole. Like what happens in your first 3 or 4 years. What, you know, in network marketing as an industry, did I start to go, oh, okay, relax, Jess.
Well,
Everybody's journey is a little different.
are some of those people just? I have no idea. Knowing this, just kind of a shoot, taking a shot at this.
No,
You probably remember who you were comparing yourself to.
yes,
Um, are they even still in the company?
heck no.
Oh, how funny. So the very people that were causing you to compare yourself and want to quit are
Yes,
not even in the company anymore.
correct. I, two handsfuls, right? And so it's just, I can tell you, even someone at the highest level in our company, I remember driving her from the not the airport, from Orlando to Tampa. And she was at the highest pinnacle, whatever the highest rank of our company is at the time. And she says to me, she's like, I can't believe you're at whatever rank I was at. I think I was a pro 3 maybe at the time. That's how our rankings were. And she said, and when did you join? And so I told her how many years I'd been there, like 3.5, 4 years, whatever it was. And she goes, I couldn't do what you did. I said, excuse me? She goes, I'd have been long gone. And I thought, and she is long gone, but that's beside the point. Top of the company, no longer here for whatever reasons, right? But I thought to that was an aha moment for me, Brandon. I think that was a moment when I said, why am I worried about everybody else?
Mm.
That does not matter. Like Jessica J Lo Paris is going to go in her pace, doing it the way that she wants to do it, that makes sense for her. That when I put my head on the pillow at night, like my dad always told me, and my mom, when you put your head on the pillow at night, did you have a good day? Did you make a difference?
Yeah, you know what I think a big thing that people miss is there's always going to be those cases in network marketing where people come in and they have massive success really rapidly. Maybe they make, 100 grand in their first year. Maybe they're making 200 grand a year real quick. But what most people don't realize is it's far better to have a firm foundation with the right principles and the right build with the right leaders than
Mhm,
quick success, because someone like yourself now, let's say that leader was earning thousands, just say 200 grand.
mhm,
If they only earn that for a year, and you've earned what you've earned now for a decade or more, who's earned more money?
correct.
Right. And I
Yeah.
think most people forget that. I think most people don't understand.
Mhm,
They get so caught up in that quick growth, the income,
mhm,
that they start comparing themselves without really knowing what's going on behind the scenes. So,
mhm.
um, so tell me what you think. Like, this industry is, dominated by women from a sheer number standpoint. It's over 70% in almost every country. In some countries, 80%.
Right.
Why do you think there's more women than men in network marketing?
Okay. I know I'm talking to a man in the moment, but relationship builders. Women love community. We love to be connected to people. It really is. And good network marketers understand that it starts with a relationship. The reason why I said yes to someone who this person was never going to do, I was not going to do, because there was a relationship that was built. I trusted the value that she was going to share with me. And she came from a place of concern. Like when you do that, the person is sitting there looking at you way open, way open to be able to receive this type of an industry when even it was not on my radar.
So they're better. You think they're better communicators? What else?
Who communicators, nurturers, and I say nurturers because you got to pour a lot of water on some folks, right? Not to smother them. I've gone the smothering route, not good. I get that. Granted, I'm not a mom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just an aunt. But I've recognized my space now, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it too, right? Is understanding the emotional intelligence spaces that need to happen. And I know
Right.
yeah, the EQ stuff that needs to happen, your self awareness, the self management of our emotions through those roller coaster rides that we have,
Mm-hmm.
right? But also being socially aware. I mean, that's a huge part of that quadrant, right? The social awareness. And then lastly, it's the relationship management piece. Like emotional intelligence, I do believe that women carry that more outwardly. Not that men don't have it. It's just maybe don't like pour into it or dive into it unless you recognize the value of what it can bring to the relationship you're trying to build.
Do you believe that women maybe are attracted to network marketing because there's more of a need for supplemental income
Mm.
in that regard? Do you think they're seeking supplemental income more than men? Do you think that plays into it at all?
Brandon, that's a great question. I honestly think that the beauty of network marketing for so many people are that it can be done like we're doing right now on this, like a podcast, a stream yard. You can do it from your phone, you can do it from this, and it's been that way for quite some time now, right? Specifically now. So I think that makes it readily available, right? Readily
Yeah,
available.
women, I mean, most not all, we can't we can't take one
Sure.
paintbrush and paint the picture for a man or a woman and their responsibilities. But in general,
Mhm.
women do carry a lot of responsibilities
Mhm.
that don't allow them to have like set schedules. It just seems like
Correct.
there's a lot of women that have schedules that are very up in the air. And network marketing is a profession that allows you to work when you want to work.
I'm telling you, the flexibility is why I'm here. The flexibility. I get to be home with my mom if I choose to. Take her today. I took her to get an appointment that she needed to get accomplished that I could do.
Yeah.
And I would not traditionally, I would have had to ask a boss for time off to go do.
Here's a question for you. So you're working full time with the county, but you're doing network marketing. So can you tell the listeners how you were able to build this business with a full time job? Because we hear that all the time. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just too busy. I got this job. You had a full time job.
Yep.
Obviously, I mean, what were your hours?
Well, parks and recreation, the hours are all the time. Weekends
Okay,
too and evenings, right? So there are sometimes I'd go in the morning, sometimes I'd stay later till 9. It just really depends because facilities are open basically
I see.
8 a.m. to 9 or 10 p.m. Right?
So how
So
were you able to build it?
nooks and crannies in the car, driving. See, I used to oversee 27 parks, right? As well as art studios. And I had a big job, like 250 employees. It was a big job, right? And South Tampa. So for those of you who are in the Tampa area, South Tampa, a lot of money in the area. So I had all the folks calling me that the grass was too high. Why aren't you mowing the grass lower, or whatever? Davis Island, all these big, you know. And so in those spaces, I had to make decisions. My lunchtime was mine. So guess what I did on my lunchtime? I set up calls, I made appointments, I did it. Okay. My time is mine, right? And I was very clear. Like I went to my director and said, "Hey, I prospected her, to be honest. You need this. I'm going to talk to you about this after work." She's like, "What?" Yes. I wanted to make it known so she knew that I was creating a clear line and delineation and
Mm.
I wasn't going to ever cross paths. Because
But
I
you
think
were
it's
able to build, you were able to have success basically in those lunch breaks and before and after work.
100% in the car driving back and forth. We all have phones, Bluetooth. You can make a phone call while you're in the car, right? And I would say, "Hey, I'm super busy, but I need to set this appointment up because you said you wanted to learn about what I'm excited about. So what's good for you? Just drop me a message, send me a text, whatever. I'm in the car running. I got to go."
Right.
And literally, that is how it was built.
Right.
So when folks tell me I'm too busy, I say, I love busy people because I know you want something out of life. It means you want something. You're laying down the fact that busy is not just moving this around, but you're actually doing something
Yeah.
to better your
What
life.
do you think? That's awesome. I love that. I love that you were able to have the success you have with, a demanding job. That's a lot of responsibility.
Mhm.
Um, what do you think? We know a lot of people don't have your success in network marketing. Why do you think it is? Why did you have success and a lot of people don't?
Number one, I'm not afraid to say what I don't know is I don't know, and I'm going to ask for help. Like that's number one. I think a lot of folks,
Does that come under like coachable?
correct. You got to be coachable. You got to be able to receive. You got to be able to say, something's not working. What do I need to do to tweak it, to do it? And I think that comes from my years of being in the coach world, not necessarily network marketing, but coaching young athletes, molding them, right? I mean, I did that for 25 years, right? Then I had to coach my city of Tampa team, and then I had to coach my nonprofit team when I worked with them, and then I had to coach, right? So I think being able to receive when you don't know, that's number one. I think another thing is that so many folks just aren't afraid. They're too afraid to like fail a little bit.
Mm.
Like just
And
it's okay.
you weren't afraid to fail. Why do you think that was? What is it was what do you think led to you not being afraid or not letting failure stop you?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you right now, it goes all the way back to being a kid, right? I go all the way back to when I was 5 or 6 years old. And I was asked I went to a small private Catholic school, right? And I'll never forget this. The nun asked me, yes, we had sisters, we had nuns in full gear. And she asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I said, "I want to be a professional athlete." Little 5-year-old kid in kindergarten. And she says, "You can't do that. Seriously." And she says, "What else do you want to be?" I said, "I want to be a sports broadcaster." And she says, "You can't do that." And I said, I'm thinking, I don't know, right? I remember this like it was yesterday, Brandon. And then she tells me, "Okay, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you go home, talk to your mom, and then tomorrow you tell me what you're going to be when you grow up?" Because she was going through the whole class.
Uh-huh.
So I get in the car, go home with my mom. I say, "Hey, mom, I have homework. I got to." She says, "What?" "I'm going to take you to school in the morning because we had like carpools." So she took me to school that morning. I don't know. We went to the principal's office, didn't know what happened in there. But when I came out, the principal said, "Jessica, don't worry. On Wednesday, you get to do the readings at mass, at church." I said, "Oh, cool." So from then on, that's what I did the whole rest of the year was I got to be the mass reader or whatever.
Uh-huh.
So hence, what do I do now outside of what I do with network marketing? I'm a public speaker.
Mm.
So when you say failure was I was just gonna, okay, I guess that's what I can't do that. I guess I'll be a whatever she thinks is important for me to be, that a woman of that time era was supposed to do. And so it was instilled in me that failure doesn't, there's no place. You just continue to keep moving.
I believe this is what separates everyone is failure. Their relationship with failure is what separates everyone. So, what would you say to a person that didn't have that same experience of you with your mom? What would you say to a person who still right now believes they can't do this? Like they're petrified of failure. They're petrified to tell their friends. They want this, they see this, they need this.
Mm.
how does someone get over that? What would you say to them? What should they do? What action steps?
Number one is you got to find your first friend. Just your first friend. I don't care if it's your mom. I don't care if it's your brother. I don't care if it's your sister or whoever. A person. A person. And when you can get past one, you say, okay. It's literally breaking it down that simply. If you're afraid to talk, find one person to talk to. If you're afraid to do a presentation, find one friend to stand with you while you're doing the presentation. It's just one movement. It's one step. When you can begin creating one step and then a second step and then it's how I get a kid to stand in front of an 85-mile-an-hour fastball that's coming at you. You have to step into the box. But that's the only way that you can do it is talk about facing fear. What does that fear look like? First of all, you got to figure out what is the fear. I don't know what your fear is. You can't just tell me I'm scared to talk to someone. Okay, what is the part about talking to someone that scares you? That they say
Yeah.
no? And continue to get deeper. So that's in the coaching space, right? How can I coach you up to know that you won't do this alone? You're not gonna do it alone. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
let you like just I will do it with you, right?
Mhm.
And help you in the process. So that's the coachable space. They got to be able to receive it though, Brandon, because some folks aren't gonna even tell you that
Mhm.
and then go, this doesn't work. Well,
Yeah. I think I love that response. I think for me, when I'm talking to people, it's evaluating the situation. Like, okay,
mm,
you're scared. What's the worst thing that can happen if you do this presentation? Like, if you decide to get in front of the room, what's the worst thing that could happen? Like, you could forget what to say.
mhm.
I don't know. You could, I don't know. What's the worst thing that could happen? Okay. And then okay, let's say you just forget what to say. What's the most incredible thing that could happen? And what out like it could you get in front of the room and get your first enrollment? Like could you get your very first business partner, right? Is that a possibility? And the answer is yes, then you have to decide for yourself what's greater, what's more
Love
important, what's better.
it. Mhm.
Right. And then for that standpoint, most people realize what we do is not a life threatening thing. Like when you said the 85-mile-an-hour pitch, like, yeah, you're right. If you never get in the batter's box, you're never getting a shot at the ball. Like you got to get into the box. You got to take that risk. The ball could hit you like that. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Right. Probably the ball hits you in the face. That's like probably the worst thing that can
Correct.
happen. If it
Yeah.
hits you in the head, you probably have a helmet. It might hurt, but yeah, but that's the worst thing that could happen.
Mhm.
But the best thing that could happen could be, whatever it is, XYZ. You're able to hit
Yeah.
the ball or, lead you to the next game. And so
Mhm.
I'm always curious about why, some people make it and why others don't. Um, what do you think is like there's a lot of action steps you've had to take to be successful. Um, if you had to say what's like the most important action that people can
Mhm.
take to be successful in network marketing, what is that characteristic?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Most important action step. I can
Like
tell you.
is it consistency? Is it honesty? Is it tenacity? Like
Mm.
what is the action step?
So I'm going to tell you, being consistent is, and when I say consistent in all aspects, consistency from plugging into your people, plugging into events, plugging into community, like that in itself gives you, that's the social proof on a consistent basis to allow you to know that you're part of something bigger. I think a lot of people today want to be a part of something bigger. It just, I hear it. I'm in front of a lot of rooms a lot of time, and that's what they're talking about: community. Like, what is our community? What's our culture? What's the culture, right? So to
Mhm.
me, consistency in that, but also consistency in picking up that phone, talking to people, not being afraid to just say, "Hey, this is what I'm passionate about." It may or may not be for you, but I'm passionate about this. Just
Mhm.
being honest. So when you say consistency and honesty, I think they go hand in hand. Okay, I do think they go hand in hand. But having the ability to truly like lock arms and plug in on a consistent basis to, like I said, to your team, to your sideline partners, your upline part, everyone. It creates something that you want to continue to be a part of for long term.
Hmm.
I mean, when network marketing is said and done, wherever that happens in 50 years or maybe never or whatever, to know that you have created a footprint, I think is what so many folks are looking for. They're looking for that connection.
I mean, I know you've got a global team. You've got a team that produces revenue while you sleep, which is amazing. Um, and this is the last question. Outside of that amazing thing where you're earning money while you're sleeping, so outside the commission,
Mhm.
what's the most valuable thing network marketing has given you?
Mm. Personal growth. Personal growth. I wouldn't be this person that I'm sitting in front of you that is pretty chill on a Tuesday at 3:26, no matter what else is going on or today or yesterday. It's knowing that when I do close my eyes at night, other stuff is happening. Like stuff is happening in my business that I am not, and if something happens to Jessica, my family can be taken care of. It's pretty cool. When I was a teacher, Jessica, something happens to Jessica, my salary ends, it's done, when I was at so it's a very different feeling, I think. And knowing that we have the ability to be a part, like I said, to be a part of something greater, bigger. It's a movement. Um, Anyone who's a part of network marketing who loves whatever company they're with would probably say something similar. It's like you're finding a home outside of the four walls that you live in. And that's really when you say, what am I most proud of? I mean, it's that I got a home, and I've got people that are in my right here, right? You being one of them, knowing you for as long as I have, knowing that if I really needed something, I pick up the phone. I'm like, hey, I need this. And knowing that person will do whatever they can, if they can, within their power, to help you on your journey. That's not typical. It's not typical.
Yeah, it is. I guess you can use different terminology for what you're describing, but what you're describing is the network.
Mm,
What you're describing is outside of commission. It's some people call it relationships. I call it the network. I think it's the biggest thing that I've gained outside of the commission checks, and that is the network. The network
mhm.
is so incredibly valuable. And
Yeah.
you just mentioned something that is missing for a lot of people. And that is when you are in a state of need, who can you go to
Mhm.
and pick up the phone and know they're going to be there for you? Like that's a very unique situation for people.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um, I really appreciate you being here today and sharing your insight into your business and into network marketing. And I look forward to the next time we get to do this. You can tell us a little bit more about the other challenges that you've had in the business.
For sure.
She's affectionately known as J Lo, and I love the stories you got to share today. So thanks for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye bye.